a certain popular transgender person on YouTube named Riley, or as suit yourself, call me. Couldn't have said that. Sorry about that. A certain transgender person named Riley has decided to make a video saying that if you misgender someone intentionally or unintentionally, does not matter, you're committing an act of violence. There's already something wrong with that argument. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's the idea that you can physically hurt someone by calling them the wrong gender. Now, if you're first unaware that they're a certain gender, or they identify as a certain gender, and you call them the wrong one, that's not misgendering. That's just not freaking knowing. So, right there, Riley, you're already wrong. And I wanted to say, I'm sick and tired of people like Riley. And Milo Stewart, who apparently thinks all white people are inherently racist to begin with, and all men are sexist, and all non-trans people are transphobic and homophobic. What? It is because of people like Milo Stewart and Riley that make me think, okay, this is out of hand. So, what specifically is Sir Criley doing or saying this time, you might ask? Simple. Like I said before, he or she, whatever the fuck this person is or wants to be, is basically saying that if you misgender someone intentionally or unintentionally, does not matter, you are inherently rude, and you're scum of the earth, and more importantly, you're committing an act of violence, which in of itself makes no freaking sense. So, first let's refute the idea that it's violence, because there's a couple issues with that need to be refuted, but we'll get into them. So first is the mere concept that you can commit violence on someone by simply misgendering them or saying a wrong word to them to begin with. What? Riley, you do know what violence is, right? You are aware that violence is physically hurting people in some way, shape, or form. Physically. Example, broken arm or broken leg, broken nose, spraining or straining their arm, whatever the terms would be, breaking their freaking neck, and straight up shooting people, burning them alive, things like that would be physically attacking people, physically hurting people. That's what violence is. Not, you called me something I don't want to be called, therefore screw you. How does that even work in a logical mind? And I say logical mind because, well, you're an idiot, Riley. You're an idiot. Because that makes no freaking sense. I don't know where someone would get that argument that violence can also include power to hurt people. Because if so, as another YouTuber, Undoomed, has said, basically anything the government does is committing an act of violence. Just by existing as a government. Because then they gotta use coercion and all that. Basically, to try and convince you not to rob a store or go murder someone. Because if they do and they catch you in the act of it, and you try and fight back or deny them, they'll probably gonna attempt to shoot you down. Or something. That's violence. What you're basically saying is the violence would come in because they're using their power to tell you not to do something. But that makes no sense. That cannot be possible because violence is physical. Just because I hurt someone's feelings does not mean I'm being violent to them. I know what violence is. This might seem like a silly way to explain it, but I play Call of Duty. I play games like GTA and Call of Duty and Borderlands. Those are violent games. Now, under the assumption that using your power to coerce people and all that is violence, in games like that would basically make a game like Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney a violent video game, because he's using his power as a lawyer to coerce people into certain things, using his power as a lawyer to get what he wants, which is victory in the courtroom. That would make that game violent. Just debating people in a courtroom over crimes would be violence. That would be basically anyone who's a judge using their power to get something they want. That's not violence. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand people who have to say that violence is... I don't understand the argument that violence is someone using words to get what they want. That's not that... I don't understand how that's violence, because of the whole violence being physical thing. Now, if it had been verbal as well from the start, from the very conception of the word violence, that would be a different story. But it's not. Violence has never meant anything along the lines of it's never meant anything to do with words. It's always been physical, me punching a person in the face, or someone shooting Billy Bob Joel down the road because he wanted his money. Like, seriously? So I need to ask, what is the point of changing something to not make sense anymore? Just so it can fit your narrative, Criley. It's not that you're a transgender person, or transgender, or whatever you are. It's that you're a transgender/transgender, and you're a fucking retard. I hate retarded people. I have had to deal with retarded people enough, personally, to know that people spouting bullshit. People like you, Riley. Like Milo Stewart, and as Suit Yourself has called him, Blitla. They need to just shut up and stop spouting lies about people. Onision does... Okay, so basically, Criley, for example, what you're basically saying could be applied to Onion Douche, aka Onision. If what you're saying is true, Riley, Onision is committing acts of violence in every freaking video he makes. Because he's always calling people the worst things possible. And with younger children being in the house, I'm not going to say those words, but you can go watch his videos for yourself. Onision. Or you can watch videos by people like Mr. Repsion, Undoomed, Suit Yourself, and Jacqueline Glenn to go see what I mean, because they've done response videos to him with clips from his videos in them. The point is, if what you're saying is true, Riley, then Onision himself is committing acts of violence just by posting a video and talking the way he does, which in of itself makes no sense to me. Yeah, I'm gonna come up with a lame argument, but it just straight up makes no sense to me. Because I've always known violence as physically hurting someone. Like Call of Duty. You know, shooting people in the freaking face, or watching an exploding ball of death and spikes come up and explode behind a guy and send his body flying towards you with spikes impaling him. Riley, you don't know what violence is. You might think you're one of the brightest minds out there, but you're not. You're an idiot. Second is a more minor point, but you mentioned how someone in 2014, if I remember correctly, said that violence is basically using words to misgender people, which again makes no sense because of what I just explained what violence really is, but also because it's not feels of a reals, people. It's not, oh, that person accidentally called me a dude, but I identified myself as a spooner man, for example. Okay, I don't freaking care if you call yourself a spooner man. You look like a freaking guy. You dress and act like a guy, therefore, I'm calling you a guy until I find out what you really are. And if you're gonna just keep saying that you identify as a friggin' spooner man, I don't care. That doesn't make you a spooner man. Doesn't make you a spooner man. That's an easier example for me to personally explain would be like, okay, so there's a TV show I like. If you followed my channel long enough, you'd know I like My Little Pony. But for this example, that'd be like me saying, I like a TV show with a bunch of talking magical horses, therefore I identify as a freaking unicorn. Or a Pegasus. Like, I can say I identify myself as a unicorn or a Pegasus all I want. That's not gonna make me a unicorn or a Pegasus. That's not gonna change what I am just because I identify as something else. That can't work. Just saying you're not what you look like is not enough. And this is always something I've wanted to say anyway, this next part, but there is no more than two genders. That's actually a wrong statement, but it's also at the same time right. What I mean by this is, normally speaking, according to biology, there is two genders. You have reproductive organs according. You're either a dude, meaning a male, or you're a lady. You're a woman. So, that makes me wonder, why would someone say they're non-binary? Because non-binary implies that you're not a man and you're not a woman. There's an example of this transgender crap that I'm talking about specifically right now that I want to bring up. And I think it's a perfect example to show how contradictory all this is nowadays. This is not actually me, this is just my example speaking, but here it is. I identify as a non-binary trans lesbian man. What am I trying to explain with this? Aside for the fact that that just sounds stupid, it's contradictory. Firstly, it's contradictory because you can't be non-binary but then identify as a man. Or a lesbian, because if you're a lesbian, you gotta be a woman who likes other women. And if you are a trans person, if you just identify as a trans, even non-binary trans lesbian man, that implies that you were once either a man or a woman and decided, hey, I'm going to switch to the other gender. Like, okay, there's no problem with people wanting to be trans. There's no problem with that. That's harmless in of itself. What we get mad about is when people try to tell us we're doing things wrong just because we're not coddling to you like you're freaking two. Look at that creeper. Did you see that? You know what he did? He acted how most people do. He freaked out because I didn't stay close enough to him so he could go boom in my face. But this is a video game. What does that have to do with anything? So, the example with this creeper that just blew up, what it's supposed to represent is the creeper blowing up, being a trans person losing their freaking mind, all because you incorrectly identified them for not freaking knowing. Like, seriously? Look at the damage that creeper did. That is the damage you do to society. It may not look like much, but whenever you get just a few creepers together, and you get it near society where it's most prevalent, example in this case, my house, which, yes, took a while. It did take a while, but I got it done, so yay. But it'd be like just a few creepers coming in and blowing up about half this floor, half that floor, and half that floor. Now, I've got work to do to rebuild. Oh, and these crops, you can forget those, because the creepers also took those out. That is the damage you people do when you say things like committing acts of violence are as simple as using your power to offend people. And the point with that I feel Riley's trying to make is exactly what I just said. Not what Riley is implying he is saying. And honestly, Riley, just personally, to show you how little it matters, I think you look like a freaking girl. There's not a problem with you looking like a girl, but if you don't think of yourself as a girl, it doesn't matter. You look like a girl, but I'm calling you a girl. That's that. That doesn't necessarily make me in the right. Just for saying that you look like a girl, and therefore you must be a girl. I don't care if you think it's rude, Riley. I don't care if you do a response to this. Go ahead, do a response. Make my day. But at the end of it all, you're either a man or a woman. And just because someone misgenders you by accident does not mean they're doing it out of violence. Because violence is physical. It doesn't mean that they're trying to offend you. Maybe they just straight up didn't know that you consider yourself a man or a woman. And then one last note, Riley. Another reason your argument that misgendering someone is an act of violence because it offends people. One last thing that's a problem with that is just the concept of, gee, maybe the person who misgendered you in the general public has never heard a term such as non-binary trans lesbian man, for example. Maybe they've never heard of terms like otherkin or non-binary. Maybe they've only heard of, at most, trans, lesbian, and gay. In which case, either way, you can't blame them because they don't know what a non-binary person is at first. Maybe. You can't blame someone and say that they just did something wrong if they are unaware of what they did wrong. You can't blame them for it. Now, can you get on their case? Sure. That's no biggie. But you can't just sit here and be like, you're a bad person because you incorrectly called me something. That's stupid. That's childish. Anyway, if Suit Yourself does put this on his channel as a guest video, I just wanted to go ahead and say thank you, man. It's real cool. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video and listen to what I have to say. That's about it. Thank you. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and also make sure you check out Suit's channel. He does a lot of good content.